I used to ask someone for a small favor and then spend the next 10 minutes trying to figure out if their yes actually meant yes. I would ask again, scan their face, their body language, searching for clues. And that didn't go only for favors. That would also go for like making decisions. To which place do you want to go? So I used to find it really difficult to deal with people who are very conflict avoidant and who set little to no boundaries, because it put me in a position where I couldn't relax in the contact at all. Because I wasn't just doing my own work, which was figuring out where my own boundaries are and then standing up for them quickly and decisively when they were crossed. But on top of that, I felt like I had to do the other person's work too. I felt responsible for figuring out where their limits even were, basically reading their mind, and then making sure I didn't cross them, all without getting any clear feedback from them whatsoever. And that meant I could never fully trust their yes to be a real yes, because I assumed that they struggled so much with advocating for their own needs that they simply wouldn't speak up if something didn't work for them. So at the end of the day, the other person was implicitly expecting me to do their inner work for them, to set boundaries on their behalf that were ultimately their own responsibility to set. But by taking that on, I was going into over-responsibility. And that's where my own work came in. Learning whether I take that on or whether I simply leave it with the other person. So here's what has changed. Where I used to spiral into hyperactive and anxious energy, asking over and over, is this really okay? Scanning their facial expression and bit of body language for clues. I don't do that anymore. When I ask someone for a favor that I consider reasonable and appropriate, or if we have to make a decision to which place do we want to go, I ask once, clearly and honestly, whether it's a friend, a family member, or a professional contact. And when the answer is yes, I take that at face value. I decided to treat the other person as a capable adult who can decide for themselves what works for them, and I let it be. Because I understood that I can only clean up my own side of the street, and going into over-responsibility serves neither me nor the other person, and ultimately the other person has to learn to express their boundaries themselves. No relationship, whether personal or professional, can truly work if you can't communicate honestly and really trust that what the other person says is actually what they mean. But obviously, personal growth is a process, right? And regardless of which side of this you might identify with. So, for instance, I know that I have been on both sides of this. It takes time to outgrow old patterns and become a more self-aware version of ourselves. So yeah, what about you? Where in your life have you learned to stay on your own side of the street? I would love to hear about it in the comments. See you next time.